So I'd like to call this meeting on September 7th, 2021 to order at 7:06 p.m. We will stay seated for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. For those of us who have joined us remotely, I just want you to know that we do have an issue with our video. It's recording upside down, so we will have the YouTube presentation recorded and available tomorrow. We'll move on to the mayor's address. So I want to welcome the beginning of the new school year for our students and thank the residents who have received their COVID vaccinations and continue to adhere to the health unit protocols. The results have been very low numbers of the Delta variant cases in Renfrew County. I want to acknowledge the efforts of staff for the completion of some significant projects during the summer. Lead Cemetery Road, Royal Pines, and Mink Lake Road rehabilitation are completed. Crooked Rapids Road has been pulverized and is scheduled for completion next summer. Effective August 31st, 2021, Algona Wilberforce has completed the purchase of Carl's Auto in Golden Lake. A new sign has been installed on the building and an open house is scheduled for the beginning of October. In addition, renovations to the Golden Lake Fire Hall are complete and the contribution of time and labor from our volunteer firefighters has been remarkable. An open house is planned for the beginning of October. Work is progressing on the Wilkins Trail and the new observation gazebo will be installed at the beginning of October. Algonquin College is working with the municipality on the completion of an environmental study. Staff have implemented the new service tracker software and council will be receiving monthly activity reports from the various departments. The municipality has received our trailer mounted radar and has been in place on Lake Dory Road the past 3 weeks. Data will be downloaded and sent to the Killaloo OPP detachments. On Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, I attended the Eganville District Seniors Annual General Meeting. Indoor programs and events are resuming with the required protocols in place. On Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, we had our first in-person county council meeting since the beginning of COVID. We celebrated the official opening of the newly renovated building and consolidated services after the meeting, with MPPs Marlene Fullerton and John Yakubuski in attendance. This concludes my mayor's address, and we'll just move on to the county council briefs. So on August 25th, 2021, Darwin Wong attended the county council meeting as a delegate and shared his very emotional story about the racism that he has experienced and his commitment to create a broader awareness and support others in his community. Mr. Wong indicated he is willing to share his message and initiate a conversation about racism and diversity in our municipalities. Representatives from Rogers Communications attended the meeting as a delegation to announce their support as a major sponsor for the 2022 Ontario Winter Games. On August 19th, 2021, I attended a special county council meeting for the presentation of the amended Renfrew County Official Plan OPA 31. County Council approved this plan unanimously. A petition was submitted to County Council from several residents regarding the excessive speeding on Lake Dory Road. This information has been shared with Matt Severo, Detachment Commander for Killaloo OPP. In a response from the Killaloo Commander, he indicated that Lake Dory Road would become part of a dedicated patrol, with the entire road being patrolled by the Killaloo Detachment. A new licensed child care home in Douglas has been approved by County Council to support the need in that community. Ontario's long-term staffing plan is an initiative to establish 27,000 new nursing and personal support worker positions in long-term care, as well as a 20% increase in direct care time for allied health professionals such as physiotherapists. Kevin Radis has been hired as the new manager of real estate for the real estate division, and Jennifer Dombrowski is the new manager of housing and homelessness for Redford County. I have a resolution that the September 7th, 2021 mayor's address and county council briefs be accepted as presented. And then we're going to second moved by Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Buchwald?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld?
Yes.
And yes, that's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will move on to the adoption of the minutes of August 17th, 2021. I have a resolution that the August 17th, 2021 regular council minutes be accepted as presented. Can I get a move in a second, please? Moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Buchwald. Any additions, corrections, or omissions? See none. Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Buchwald?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld?
Yes.
And yes. Carried. Thank you. We have no delegations for tonight's meeting, so we move to reports. Item 7.1 is Ottawa Valley Sports. I have a resolution of council accepts the Ottawa Valley Sports report as presented and authorizes the clerk treasurer to sign the contract on behalf of council. I'm going to move in second. Moved by Councilor Buchwald, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments or questions? Councilor Ricky.
Is this just a new organization and they sign anybody else up yet?
They are fairly new. They tend to have fees for organizations to sign up, but if the different townships go together, they have offers waiver fees. And that's why we thought we go together and get the free for this year.
Do you know who else do they do schools and stuff or like?
They probably would. They have a website you can check out where they do have other groups sign up. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'm understanding then that they're trying to see if they can get as many municipalities on board as possible, and then maybe we would continue in the future.
They're not trying to get as many on board. It's our little girl group that we have a meeting once a month, and we asked them if we could join as a group and get some free advertisements. They agreed.
Well, good plan. Yes, Councilor Owens.
So joining this group, what does it do for like other advertising or activities that we would have
So another family moved into the area and they went to their website. They would look up on their website and say, oh, Algona Wilberforce has all these activities, associations, events going on. So, you know, we could go check that out. Maybe they're moving into our area and we would to see what activities we have. Like our softball could go on there. We plan other events can go on there. The snowmobile race would be on there.
And I guess if they're looking at the website, they end up something like municipality bowling league, then they see that too, right?
Yeah, if it's an interest and it's not in our municipality, but in one of the other ones, they could definitely look into it.
So then this would be sort of almost linked from our website to theirs.
No, but we would definitely advertise that we are on their website.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. Councilor Burns? Yes. Councilor Buchwald?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld?
Yes.
And a yes. Carried. Thank you. Item 7.2 is municipal communications. I have a resolution that council accepts the municipal resident communication report as presented and directs staff to request a citizen alert app and all net connection demonstration. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Buckle. Questions, comments? Councilor Reckitt.
So what we're doing is just seeing what it would look like, is that what the question?
Yes,
Okay, and then the other question I have about it is, okay, I get the fact how much we would pay. So that means if I'm an Apple or an Android person, I would have to subscribe to it also?
No.
No?
yeah, the township will be responsible for paying that fee.
Because, yeah, okay, because I was just thinking, so they pay my fee?
It's a one-time fee for the whole township.
Okay,
For
because
the one.
okay, because when I was reading the financial implications, it looks like
Yeah.
$2,932.20. And then it went on to say if you're an Apple or slash Android app owner account, then I was thinking if I'm an Apple, I'd also have to pay an additional $140. But no.
I don't believe so, not when I looked at some of the other ones that are using that. It's free to their residents.
Okay,
But
because
that would definitely be a question, I think.
they would
the
ask.
administration would ask.
Okay, that's good, because I was thinking if it's okay, let's say if we decided to do it, but then people might say, well, I'm not paying $120 to do
Yeah,
that.
no.
And then why are we gonna do it if not other people do it? Okay, that's a question we would ask. Perfect.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burke. Yes. Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes,
Councilor Reckitt.
Yes,
Yes, carried. Thank you. Item 7.3 is the Golden Lake Satellite Office and Shop. I have a resolution that council accepts the report as presented and directs that the new building and fire hall at Golden Lake will be officially opened on October the 6th. And further, the building's office can be open to the public on Wednesdays for a period of 3 months. And then moved and seconded, moved by Councilor Buckwald, seconded by Councilor Burns. Questions, comments? Councilor Reckitt.
I was just wondering what staff would be there on Wednesday, and by putting somebody up there on Wednesday, does that short staff us here?
So as council will know, this summer we tried to do other work on Wednesdays, and we have a report coming eventually on that. It really wasn't much impact of having lesser operations on Wednesdays. Our plan would be to have our main reception person at Golden Lake on the Wednesday, and it's a second staff assigned there just to make sure that the person's not alone. And that may be a combination of public works and another office person, or possibly the building inspector. We don't think that it's going to be an impact at this time, and we've not actually but what we wanted to do is try it out for 3 months. If nobody ever comes to Golden Lake, then we don't want to do it. If we're really busy, then we have to make some adjustments. But just to give council an idea of what's going to happen there, because it's a new thing for us. So that's why we want that 3-month trial period.
So like moving forward, if it wasn't that busy, maybe you just have a person there during what you thought was a busy time, or maybe once a month or something like that.
And we may find that we could have, everyone comes in and says, well, if you were open Tuesdays, that would be much better.
Right.
Or if you were open Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings, it would really work for us. So we're going to get that information, but you can't get it until you open up.
Right, okay, thank you.
I think it's a good idea. It certainly would be a worthwhile experiment to see. Councilor Robinson.
when you said that it's going to be a trial period, are we going to be trying to solicit opinions from the residents that are from a needs analysis point of view?
We're going to do that on a general basis. We're not really going to put a questionnaire there. We're just going to have our input from our staff, and our staff person that's there is going to be very good at tallying things. And we do that from time to time in our office as to know what type of calls are coming in. And we're also going to be able to track some of those things with our service tracker. And we'll also know by revenues, for example, taxes. If we have $300,000 in taxes paid at Golden Lake, we're really providing that service. if we have, $1,500 in each one person paying taxes. But we're going to be able to bring that information forward to council. And it will be factual information as opposed to this, I think 2 days or 3 days.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Council Birch? Yes. Council Buckle?
Yes.
Council Robinson?
Yes.
Council Rector Schonfeld?
Yes,
And a yes, it's carried, thank you. And 7.4 is the Human Resources Report. So I have a resolution that council accepts the report as presented. Can I get a mover and second? Moved by Councilor Bird, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments or questions? Councilor Rector Schonfeld?
do we have any meeting yet?
We have a alternately hand for when the police hand's not there, so we do not want to take the place when we need it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll call the vote then. Councilor Bird?
Yes.
Councilor Buckle?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Rector Schonfeld?
Yes,
And a yes, it's carried. Thank you. Item 7.5 is the speed on rural roads, and I have a resolution that the council accepts the report as presented and further directs staff to proceed with a study on all rural roads regarding speed, along with recommendations for each road regarding that speed. And you got to move in the second. Moved by Councilor Bird, seconded by Councilor Buckle. Questions or comments? Councilor Buckle.
Just a question as to do that study internally and what kind of timeline for that?
The plan would be to give a report to council for budgeting for next year. And as far as internal, external, we're going to assess our resources and our ability to do it based on our inventory, and we haven't put any work into this yet because we're waiting for our sign from council. So we bring that information back if we have to look at it externally.
Councilor Robinson.
On the report, it's saying 60 going from 80. I think that's annual. I think 60 would probably be sort of a better workable change.
I actually agree with the 60 and 70, unless there is some rules.
Well, that's certainly council's decision if you want to give that direction to staff.
Basically, I took a photograph from East Ferris.
I realize.
Yes, Councilor Rector Schonfeld.
as part of the resolution, should we have a sentence that basically says that, we will have this looked at by budget of 2022? Do we add a time date with it?
Well, I guess we can. If it's,
Work actually, so that information will be provided for budgeting for 2022.
Yeah, just
whatever.
as Mr. Sprint had said.
Yeah.
It's-
For the staff that's going to look at the road and determine which one should be.
Well, we're going to give recommendations based on the road. So for example, a road like that cemetery, most of the roads very straight, but at one end you have a corner and you're going easy down to 50 going to Edenville. So there'll be consideration for there. And then the snowdrifters intersection, different accidents, but we realign that. It may be a caution to slow down to 60 for that area. But it'll be based on the road, the condition of the road.
yes, Councilor Rector Schonfeld.
I don't know on our website if we could ever have a public forum section, or it would be like the question of the month or something like that. And we could say, because we've had a number of concerns about rural road speed and limits, and council is looking at doing blah, blah, blah. We're just looking for any input from our ratepayers. Maybe somebody will say something, maybe somebody will say nothing. But at least they have the opportunity to, or, we even talked about taking out an ad in the newspaper about stuff, and it would be really nice if the ratepayers would say, because sometimes, we look at what a few people say as opposed to whoever else is on the road. And just a thought, trying to get more communication.
Councilor Robinson and then Councilor Buckle, but Actually, we go ahead and just,
Just to follow up on the council's suggestion, it is a good suggestion. And what I would suggest for my, your suggestion is that staff come back to council with a questionnaire that we will be putting on the website. And that could be, you can have this separate from that, but we'll come back to that questionnaire and it's something that we will involve.
Councilor Burke.
Just on the weekend, this last weekend, up in Golden Lake with the transfer site on Burke Road. And Red Pine Camp was pretty full this weekend. Burke Road and the Island Bridge should definitely be reduced because there's a lot of people watch empty roads like in the summertime. And there's a lot of people going through a transfer site, driving really fast on the corner, so. I just thinking there's lots of people driving. We have to start something.
The timeline, I know that you're wanting to bring this back for budget, but are the recommendations are going to be coming before the budget process?
The recommendation, this is not a small job.
I know.
It's a fair type job. So I would suggest that unless there was a, you know, if there was a road that was in dire need of some attention, all the information would be coming for the budget.
Councilor Buckle.
The one comment I will make that we also need to consider is if we're going to be reducing speeds from 80, that also affects what all-terrain vehicles can do. Because they have a reduced speed, they can only do 30 and 50, and only 50 and 80. So if we reduce that, we're also going to be affecting ATV operators as well. So we can consider that on some of the roads that might be capable of 80, that when the ATVs could also still drive at a way to their speed. You know, well, that's another use that would affect it.
Good points. Do I have to write an amendment to this resolution? Are we going to? Yes,
Can I just make a suggestion?
sure.
Why don't the members of council, if this would work for staff, they service tickets with their suggestions onto this, would that be appropriate? Staff would have a tracking that doesn't require a change.
What do you mean by service?
Well, in our service tracking software, put in our comments.
Laura, are you do that or? No?
So with regard to the service tracker, I think it's a good suggestion, but because we have so many roads and when it's discussed in a public meeting, that the public are also going to put their comments in. I think as Councilor Wright felt that a separate questionnaire would be better. Otherwise, we could overload our system.
I just didn't know if we appropriate to do it that way, but
It's a good idea to have more about our system being overloaded, especially going from that policy.
Oh, well, I also got this good. Okay.
To repeat that initial sentence.
For 2021 preparations.
For 2021 budget deliberations. 2022, sorry. I said 2022.
I did too. Sorry.
It should be deliberation, but because we're doing it already when council reviews as opposed to first date, sorry.
So council's okay with the amended resolution? Then I'll call the vote. Council First,
Yes.
Council Buckles,
Yes.
Council Robinson,
Yes,
Council Ricky Shuffle,
Yes,
yes. Carried. Thank you. Item 7.6 is the consent application B1621 for Keith Griffith and Karen Fabian. I have a resolution that council not approve consent application B16/21 for Karen Fabian and Keith Griffith to sever an 8.5 acre, 3.45 hectare parcel of land to be used for camp purposes. I got a mover and seconded. Moved by Council Bucknell, seconded by Council Robinson. Comments, questions? Maybe we'll just get staff to speak to this, if they could, please. I know it did indicate that the county would approve providing some of their recommendations were taken into consideration.
So they would approve, provided there was favorable comments from the community. So, so the county they provided their planning report, and so it does identify some areas of concerns, which will need to be addressed and resolved prior. Okay, so like I said, there's a number, so minimum distance separation, calculations have to be provided and be favorable. They also will have favorable comments from the Township Public Works Department. So under section 14.2, 19 of the official plan, retained lands have to have frontage on a private road, which it will. But the OP also requires for new waterfront residential lots on private road that it have a legally obtained right of way that connects to the municipal public road that's maintained year-round by the municipality. And Marcus Road is a seasonal municipal road, and the only maintenance that the township provides is roadside grass cutting in the summer, so it doesn't meet that requirement. And so that is the main reason that municipal staff isn't approving. It is not recommending that this consent application be approved. However, council can make the decision to approve the application on your behalf. It's just important staff cannot make that recommendation at this time. There's also a zoning bylaw would also be required. You know, and third meeting block setback.
And the other question, I think they're also not within 750 meter setback from farm buildings.
They have to provide information to determine if they are. That was one of the outstanding issues.
Right. But the biggest, my understanding is the biggest challenge is the fact that there's not a municipal service road, a year-round service road that connects to the private road.
Yes.
Any other comments?
well, basically, they can never, in a way, fix that because of the road, right? Because it's a seasonal road, like some of the things that setback that could be possibly checked off. And there's another one that I think could be checked off, but this is the biggest one, and there's really nothing they can do at this point in time, right? That's the way I see it, if we do follow what the plan says, right?
That's right. Yeah, the only, and I guess one of my questions have been, can we have a legal agreement with them that indicates that, you know, if we approve this, you're gonna have to be responsible for maintaining the private road. But I don't know if there's any precedent with that sort of agreement anywhere in the province.
Something you would have to look into. So it would be a legal agreement to maintain the municipal road.
Beyond service.
And at some point then, does anybody ever get back to these two people just saying, you know, why they didn't obtain it, why we didn't approve it yet, is that what you do?
After submitting municipal report to county director, which we've been part of the parts.
And then that gets sent to them. See, I guess that's my biggest concern, right, is that unmaintained road. I mean, if it was a maintained road, I think then we could deal with some of these other issues.
Well, yeah, I'd be more comfortable dealing with the other issues if the road wasn't an issue.
If private road, this full maintained road, and yes, we could approve the consent application for just for one water. So we would be meeting the requirements of the inclusion plan.
I wonder in the plan why they made that stipulation if it's on water versus if it wasn't on water.
Because a number of property lots, they use private access roads to access their property. They thought that they join up if they year-round use the road.
Would they have, and it's just a more question, because I have an idea where the property is, but I have to look at the map. Could they put a road onto the municipal road from where their camp is?
Maybe waste on. Never build a.
Yeah, I mean, without looking at the land.
I know where it is, like up there. Approach road.
Yeah.
But
I don't believe their property would
Would allow
municipal maintain section of that road.
that.
For
Okay.
risk of using that map.
It doesn't come up with that.
And I don't believe so.
Councilor Buckland?
So, as I understand it, they're looking to sell her basically for a hunt camp. Now, do you know what's the plan to sell the property for the hunt camp, or they just want it separate from the whole? Because if all they want to do is put a hunt camp on it, if we were to put a restriction on the future use of the property, that it can't wind up turning into, you know, a permanent residence type thing, so like a withholding status on it. Would that alleviate some of the concerns of the
So my,
unmaintained road?
so my understanding is, so the property is owned by two parties. And so it's being severed. So the one party will retain the severed land, the other party will retain the separate, the original parcel.
Okay, so they're splitting between the two.
I think sometimes then that's hard to remember, like down the road, and like, you know, you can't, people will eventually maybe want to sell it when they, you know, like.
it's gonna be right on the.
It is on the water, that's both the severed and the owned.
Down the road, somebody want to turn that into a home. It's on the waterfront.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, the other would be to put a withholding on it, and then we would be able to build permit down the road. To prevent that from happening, but
One time, one person said, you take a hunt camp and then you do renovations and then make it a seasonal, 3 seasons, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it turns into a house, right?
exactly.
And so, I mean, I think we have to be very careful with that also.
Councilor Robinson, you have any questions?
Well, I'm just looking at the little sketch that was there, and I think at the very beginning, we talked about the distance from this hunt camp. And it's awfully close to the line of the houses.
Is it possible to put the map up on the screen?
on the separate parcel. Servicing the house and barns, the dismantle and the purpose the house and barns.
Mhm.
This is Martha's Road here, which is the seasonal road.
Mhm.
This is the separate parcel, so this will be a right away. This is the private road.
Right.
And so this is a separate parcel, which they plan to reuse the house and barn.
And to,
So when you say a private road, is that what you mean? It's like a right of way to get in there?
It will be registered right away, yes.
A registered right of way, so
It's a proposed road allowance, yes.
it's a closed road. Okay.
Well, if they're looking to repurpose the barns, film door sort of site that address the MDS, permit of NXE, permit of separation distance, it's no longer a barn.
But it's separate, but there's two.
Then buyers and vendors haven't been using the last 25, 30 years.
so they're gonna just assume they'll take it back.
Yeah, so but they haven't been used either, so there's no trouble with livestock and anything. They haven't been used for a long time.
Can I suggest to council that maybe we defer this? I'd be curious to see if we could go back to the county and see if there's any history of a legal agreement somewhere else in the county where somebody has done this and, you know, might give us a little more information to make a decision.
So before we go, so initially it was that one kind of funny shape, and they probably accessed the property driveway from Marcos Road. So, yes, yeah.
The access would have been from Martha's Road, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's where they'd be. And so now if they were to sever it, then there'd have to be something written in the agreement that the green property to the left.
So there has to be a legal right away.
Yeah. Because sometimes those things run into issues once the two parties get to be two different parties.
Mhm.
And what goes well when you're related doesn't go well when you're not related. There's somebody else in here. It's
Or take a session, deadlock.
that's it. Yes, I agree. We should maybe see if there's precedence.
I think we need before we make a decision.
So council would agree to defer.
Yes.
Yes.
Because if we make a decision, we want to make sure it's a good one.
For all parties.
And Michelle, we don't have to vote if we defer, right? Or do
They just approved the second, so they're not approving it.
No.
I'm sure hands.
we show of hands for the next meeting? Perfect. Thank you. Item 7.7 is the EGT asset management. I have a resolution, council directs staff to proceed with the formal contract with EGT for asset management services. Can I get a move in a second? Moved by Council Berg, second by Council Buckles. Questions?
Because I didn't check my new email. Is there like a report that comes with this? Because I haven't checked it. I just had saved it yesterday. And I know there was a placeholder there. I forgot to look.
We didn't have time to do this, but we would have to do a report, so basically it's just a proposal. So what's before council tonight is to proceed with doing up an agreement. They would come back for council for approval, but that was my way of just getting us a little more time.
Okay.
So basically, this is what they're presenting. We do have some timelines, to be very careful, because we have to have this for next June. But one of the things that we stressed to TDT is that we have a limited amount of staff here. When we set up a service track, we set up AllNet for the meetings it took a lot of work away from us. And this had to be something that's not gonna take a lot of our time, that we need help putting things in, because it's a program that we need to take 20 hours here, 20 hours there, and we're never gonna get it in. So this does the whole thing for us. It assembles the information we've already done and it inputs it in, so basically it's plug and play for our staff. The first component is the capital component that come out of your modernization fund, and then it would be an operational cost every year to maintain this. And one of the things that council wanted was to make sure that we own our information and we own our information.
Just a question, so we would own the information and staff could also input information, or will it be handled through?
As soon as it's like our all net contract, and as soon as it's up and running, then it's up to us to be installing it.
Oh,
So if a new culvert's put in on that cemetery, the staff would input that. But what we're getting is it would have the 8 culverts that are already there.
right. Councilor Buckle.
And does this link well with the service tracker and our existing software?
We were not able to get something that would actually completely interact. But with our municipality, and we're looking at those higher costs for these other programs, this allows us to do, because it does link with citywide and our software for accounting. It doesn't link to service tracker, but we think that the two of them can work together. Staff having two things in front of tension.
The big advantage is that it does link to the financial part.
Correct.
So that you can keep your plan current as far as costs and replacements.
And it would also assist the budget. And it does the multiple year forecast that with the backing as required by the province.
Any other questions? So this will come back to,
The contract will come back to council. I'm suggesting it is the next meeting.
okay. Councilor Burke? Yes. Councilor Buckle?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Rachel Johnson?
Yes,
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Item 7.8 is the year-to-date financial report. Regional council accepts the report as presented. Did I get a move in a second? Moved by Councilor Buckle, seconded by Councilor Robinson. And I did submit some questions. I know some of the other councilors have some questions which they were going to send directly to Michelle so that we can all get the response. Yes, Councilor Richardson.
and in a perfect world, how many times a year would you do this? Like 3 times a year? 4 times a year? And what the approximately what months did you do it?
So you would do it after March,
Okay,
after June, after September, and then at the end of
thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burke? Yes. Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Rachel Johnson,
Yes,
and yes, it's carried. Thank you. Item 9.1 are the non-action correspondence. I have a resolution of council accepts non-action correspondence items 9.1, 9.11 to 9.13 as information. I have moved in a second and moved by Councilor Byrne, seconded by Councilor Buckle. Councilor. Oh, sorry.
Just a quick question. I think a couple meetings ago, we had a question that was directed back to business about something. that
Oh,
they
yes,
said.
that's a clarification. on
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, did you ever get a response back from them?
We'll get that information to council.
Thanks.
And because Mr. Tauheimer had written a letter to all of us, would it be just a common courtesy to tell him what our plan is in terms of road speed safety?
Yeah, on council's behalf, I can send them an email and all correspondence through email.
Right, and yeah, but I just think it would be nice for him to know that we're doing, well, you know, that's what I'm, and I do remember when we had talked about that and the legal ramifications of trying to change something.
Right.
So, I mean, and it would be nice to know that we're addressing this through what we just talked about.
And I have had several correspondence with him and through this process and telling him what's going on tonight.
Okay,
So myself or the clerk will send him the email.
thank you.
Probably send them a copy of the resolution.
And that could be part of it, you know.
So call Council Burns. Yes. Council Bucklow,
Yes.
Council Robinson,
Yes,
Council Junco,
Yes,
and yes, it's carried. Thank you. And 9.2.1 is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And this was something that was brought forward by AMO. So I will read the resolution. Whereas the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released its final report on June 2nd, 2015, which included 94 calls to action to redress the legacy of residential schools and advance the process of Canadian reconciliation. And whereas the recent discoveries of remains and unmarked graves across Canada have led to increased calls for all levels of government to address the recommendation in the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. And whereas all Canadians and all orders of government have a role to play in reconciliation. And whereas recommendation number 80 of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples to establish a statutory holiday and national day for truth and reconciliation to ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of the reconciliation process. And whereas the federal government has announced September 30th, 2021 as the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, and a statutory holiday. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Algona Wilberforce does hereby commit to recognizing September 30th, 2021 as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, by sharing the stories of residential school survivors, their families, and communities. Can I get a move in a second? Moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments or questions? Councilor Buckle.
By what process are we going to carry out the sharing of stories? If we'll have to look up for saying we're going to recognize it, that's how we're going to do it. I think we need to have a plan in place as to how we.
And I certainly agree. And one of my thoughts was I certainly would like to invite Chief Jocko to one of our council meetings. I know from talking to her previously, she certainly has her own story. And I'm sure she'd be willing to share or could provide stories from some of her council or some of the other members of her community as well. Yes, Councilor Robinson.
also there was an AMO, a video that was put together by another, something that would probably, even if they had a link to that, because that really that was very heart-wrenching, going into some of the histories of what took place in the schools themselves. So I think that it's not just our local, but also to try to bring more than one community together in that awareness process.
and I would have to say, like, we're kind of like, for next year, you could plan, like, we could purchase an orange flag and fly it, if that's possible. We could have something on our website also. I'm thinking of those two boards that we have here in a Golden Lake. You could have something like even an orange, I mean, just to show that we realize that's what's happening, right? Just like we have Black History Month and other things. So what we could do is build into our communication for next year. In addition to that, in those leaflets that we get sent out with our taxes, we could just even acknowledge something like that. So then and then in addition to having somebody come and speak and stuff, I think all of those things would be really good.
Yes, and
Just to let the council know of our capacity, and the council have mentioned the date, you know, less than a month away. We do have the ability, and it's what we can do, is to use our social media and to use our boards. And we can put information out and certainly link to videos and relevant information. That's something staff can easily do for this year, have it out. The mayor's suggestion to have Chief Jocko might be better as having Chief Jocko do an interview where we can broadcast that. Because we have our next meeting, which is the 21st. It would be better just to do an interview or a conversation where we can put that up for a couple of weeks, you know, possibly. And maybe the mayor has a relationship to contact with Jocko and ask. That's something that would be easy for us to do by the 30th.
And because our council meeting is before that, we could show solidarity by, we could wear orange that council meeting. And the people on the OWL or YouTube or whatever, they could see us doing that, or just an orange ribbon or something like that.
I can certainly put out an invitation to see if something would work for her this month. If not, I'm sure we can work it.
And we can do that through meetings.
Yes.
To come in and we can do that, sit down and review that. 10 minutes, 10 or 10 minute clip would be good. That's something people would watch on YouTube or easier or on our website.
The idea of having even if we just had orange ribbons for everyone that comes into our office, or a band or orange band or something like that. It's very easy to carry around.
Right. On that particular day or
Leading up to that day. So you're sort of building that awareness.
right.
And if we have that and everybody comes in, oh, this is one of the things that we're offering.
Any other suggestions, comments? Seeing none, I'll vote. Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rector Schoenfeld.
Yes,
And yes, carried. Thank you. Item 9.2.2 basically follows up with this previous discussion. They have a resolution that council adopt the County of Renfrew First Nations Land Acknowledgement Statement. So this is something that the warden sent out to all the municipalities. This is wording that actually has come from her discussions and conversations with Chief Jocko. So that's why I wanted it included. Can we put the actual wording up on the screen, please? And this is how the county, how she starts the county meetings. So I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. For discussion, moved by Councilor Rector Schoenfeld, seconded by Councilor Buckwell. comments? Councilor Buckle?
I think it's simple, it's respectful, and doesn't single out anyone for bad feelings. Probably so.
Councilor Buckle?
I have to echo those statements, and many organizations and schools, universities, they're all following that before any formal, ceremony. So I think it's important that we acknowledge that, and I would like to see, of course, at the beginning of each of our council meeting that gets it. And I think that's just an important thing, especially if we're trying to do that truth and reconciliation.
Councilor Robinson?
I was gonna more or less make that last comment that Councilor White told me is that just about all the committees or boards that I'm sitting on, they've been doing that at their meetings, and it certainly is a step forward for us to adopt that same.
And I like the fact that it just was in consultation with Chief Justice herself, so it's not something that we're just pulling out of the book or pulling out of the script. It's actually coming from a conversation with the chief from the department. So
And it's inclusive.
it is, yes. So, Councilor Voting, Councilor Burns? Yes. Councilor Buckle?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Recchi?
Yes.
And yes, carried, thank you. And I'd like to welcome our staff reporter, or our reporter. And your name again,
It's Christina Beatonhoff.
okay,
Nice to meet you all.
nice meeting you, glad to have you with us.
Thanks.
So bylaws, do we have bylaws? Yeah, bylaws. So that brings us to our closed session. So I have a resolution that council will go into a closed session at 8:05 p.m. for personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, one, acquisition or disposition of land, and two, plans and instructions for negotiations. Can I get a move in a second? Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burke. Councilor Burke? Yes. Councilor Buckle?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Recchi?
Yes.
And yes. Carried, thank you. So we'll take a 5-minute break and then we will come back. Resolution that council come out of closed session at 9:50 p.m. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Buckle. Councilor Burke? Yes. Councilor Buckle?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Recchi?
Yes.
And yes, thank you. We're out of close. We need a few minutes more.
Yeah.
Okay. So item number 1, I have a resolution that the council acknowledges the report regarding council code of conduct, specifically regarding Councilor Burke, and directs that Councilor Burke and all of council be mindful to refrain from statements that insult or belittle staff, and that Councilor Burke publicly retract statements made regarding staff not calling back the resident that made the complaint regarding matters. And I'm going to move to second, moved by Councilor Recchi, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Burke? Yes. Councilor Buckles?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Recchi?
Yes.
And yes, carried, thank you. I have a resolution, fire department social event. Council approves the event and contributes $200 to assist with the purchase of food and supplies. I don't know if this captures what we were trying to say, though, it's saying council is approving, but actually it's The council is approving the fire department to utilize their budget.
Announce the event and the fire department. I think, can we just take the council approves the event along with the contribution from the fire department's operating budget for $200 to assist with food and supplies for the families of the firefighters.
So we as council aren't getting $200
No,
additional to the
they're
200.
just-
They're taking
From the budget.
They're taking $200 of operation.
Okay, that makes it fair.
From their operating budget. And just like put them in on the fire department.
Oh.
Put in supplies for families.
That looks better. Can I get a word in second? Moved by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Mr. Mayor, I would say.
okay. You get that word? Okay. Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Shanto,
Yes,
and a yes, it's carried. And 16.3 is the RBC. I have a resolution that the council accepts the report as presented and directs the CAO to move forward with drafting a formal agreement regarding water treatment and education partnership. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Shanto.
yes,
And yes, it's carried. Item 16.4, cleaning of municipal buildings. I have a resolution. The council accepts the report on cleaning as information and directs staff to continue status quo to the end of the year. And then move seconded, moved by Councilor Shanto, seconded by Councilor Burke. Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Shanto.
yes,
Yes, it's carried. Thank you. Confirmatory bylaw. I have a resolution of bylaw 2021-52 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for September 7th, 2021. Read a first and second time the 7th day of September 2021. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Shanto. Read a third time and finally passed the 7th day of September 2021. Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Shanto,
yes.
and yes, it's carried. Thank you. And finally, I have a resolution that this regular meeting of council adjourns at 9:56 p.m. And it will be a second moved by Councilor Burke, seconded by Councilor Buckwell. Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Shanto.
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's carried. Thank you.